Alternate methods of procurements. BPPRA Rule number 51. Principal procurement method is open competitive bidding. However, there are alternate methods of procurement which are used as and when required. Following are the alternate methods of procurement as per BPPRA Rule number 51. 1. Request for quotations. 2. Direct contracting. 3. Negotiated tendering. 4. Force account. 5. Petty purchases. Request for quotations. Rule number 51, 1A. 1. Request for quotation is the method based on comparing price quotations obtained from at least 3 suppliers, contractors, and service providers. In the case of services other than consulting services, to assure competitive prices. 2. A procuring agency shall engage in this method of procurement only if any of the following conditions exist. A. The cost of object of procurement is below the prescribed limit of 200,000 rupees and above the financial limit prescribed for petty purchase as provided in clause E. B. The object of procurement has standard specifications. Direct contracting. Rule number 51, 1B. Direct contracting. This method means procurement from a single source without competition and shall only be applicable under any of the following conditions. 1. Where civil works are to be contracted and are a natural extension of an earlier or ongoing job, and it can be ascertained that the engagement of the same contractor will be more economical and will ensure compatibility of results in terms of quality of works subject to limitation of repeat or variation order. 2. In case of procurement through government organizations, the direct sourcing to a government organization for provision of works, goods, or services under a cost-plus or fixed contract, provided that the public sector organization shall not involve a private sector enterprise as a partner or in the form of a joint venture or a subcontractor. The government organizations shall be totally government-owned and controlled, or semi-autonomous and autonomous agencies under the administrative control of federal government or provincial government. 3. Where a change of contractor or supplier would oblige the procuring agency to acquire material having different technical specifications or characteristics and would result in incompatibility or disproportionate technical difficulties in operation and maintenance. This shall be done with proper justification and recording of such reasons, provided that the contract or contracts do not exceed 3 years in duration, and the competent authority certifies in writing the compatibility of the materials to be procured. 4. In case of emergency, subject to the conditions. 1. That all such procurements along with its emergent nature has to be recorded by the principal accounting officer and approved by the technical head of the procuring agency. 2. That these have to be immediately intimated to Accountant General Office or District Accounts Office as the case may be. 3. That quantities in all such procurements shall be limited to the assessed requirement of emergency only, and 4. that these shall be used only for procurements up to maximum for 3 months, which may be extended for such a period that government may deem fit, depending on the nature of emergency, provided that the principal accounting officer, with the prior approval of the government, declares that a situation of emergency has arisen and reasons for making such a declaration shall be recorded in writing. 5. Subject to the conditions of contract. A procuring agency may issue a variation order to a contractor to include works which were outside the original scope of works to ensure interests of government and for reasons of economy, compatibility, and efficiency, provided that a. The original contract is still in force. b. The procuring agency has satisfied itself for technical reasons that the placing of the variation order is cost-effective. c. The value of variation order is not more than 15% of the original contract, and d. There may be more than one variation orders, as long as the total value of all the variation orders remains within 15% of the original contract. Negotiated tendering. Rule number 51(1). C. A procuring agency may engage in negotiated tendering with one or more suppliers or contractors, with or without prior publication of a procurement notification. This procedure shall only be used when 1. The supplies involved are manufactured purely for the purpose of supporting a specific piece of research or an experiment, a study or a particular development. 2. For technical or artistic reasons, or for reasons connected with protection of exclusive rights or intellectual property. The supplies may be manufactured or delivered only by a particular supplier. 3. For reasons of extreme urgency brought about by events unforeseeable by the procuring agency. The time limits laid down for open and limited bidding methods cannot be met. The circumstances invoked to justify extreme urgency must not be attributable to the procuring agency, provided that any procuring agency desirous of using negotiated tendering as a method of procurement shall record its reasons and justifications in writing for resorting to negotiated tendering, and shall place the same on record. Force account. Force account means construction by the procuring entity itself, or use of public or semi-public agencies or department concerns, where a procuring entity or the public or semi-public agency uses its own personnel and equipment or hired labor, as per BPPRA Rule number 51(1)(d). Force account means works by the use of the procuring agency's own personnel and equipment and shall only be used for the works under the following conditions. 1. Quantities of work to be done cannot be defined in advance. 2. Works are small and scattered or in remote locations, for which qualified construction firms are unlikely to bid at reasonable prices. 3. Works are required to be carried out without disrupting ongoing operations. 4. In case of emergencies, provided that the competent authority declares that a situation of emergency has arisen, and reasons for making such a declaration shall be recorded in writing. Petty purchases. as per BPPRA Rule number 51(1)(e). Procuring agencies may provide for petty purchases where the object of the procurement is below the financial limit of 100,000 rupees. Such procurement shall be exempted from the requirements of bidding or quotation of prices, provided that procuring agencies shall ensure that the procurement of petty purchases is in conformity with the principles of procurement prescribed in BPPRA Rule 4. Repeat orders. Repeat orders mean procurement of additional quantities of the items from the original contractor or supplier, where, after the items originally envisaged for the project or scheme have been procured through open competitive bidding, and such additional quantities of the same items of goods or works are needed to meet the requirements of the project or scheme, provided that 1. The cost of additional quantities of items shall not exceed 15% of the original contract amount. 2. The original supplier and contractor are willing to supply goods or carry out additional work on the same prices as agreed in the original contract. 3. In case of goods, it shall be permissible only within the same financial year, and in case of works, during the currency of the projects or schemes, and 4. The repeat order does not result in splitting of requisitions or purchase orders. Petty grant repair works. Petty grant repair works means works by the use of the procuring agency's own personnel and equipment, and shall only be used for the works under the following conditions. BPPRA Rule number 51(1)(g) says 1. The procuring agency may provide for the petty works where the procurement is below the financial limit of 500,000 rupees. The petty works grant covers a. General repair and maintenance of the building structure, b. Roofing works, c. General electrical repair and maintenance, d. Replacement of windows and internal and external doors, e. Repair and maintenance of external works such as driveways, steps, paths, fences, and boundary walls. F. Clearance work in preparation for reoccupation. 2. Tendering procedure will be by seeking a minimum number of at least 3 quotes in writing through direct invitation from capable firms which are of reputable standing. The submission of bids and opening of bids will be as per Rules 25 and 33 respectively, provided that the procuring agency shall ensure adherence with the principles of procurement prescribed under Rule 4. 51(2). Invoking the alternate methods of procurement does not exonerate the procurement process from the requirements of the provisions of Rules 34, 35, 38 and 39. Before award of contract and Rules 9, 10, 44, 52, 54, 55 and 79. 51-A Framework Agreement. A formal agreement between two organizations or a buyer and seller that is intended to become legally binding in the event that a contract is created. 1. Where the procuring agency requires to repeatedly procure an object or a class of objects on specific terms and conditions during a defined period of time, not exceeding 12 months. It may enter into a framework agreement with or without rates. A framework agreement with rates. A procuring agency may enter into a framework agreement with rates with a supplier or contractor, following the procedure for open competitive bidding. B. Framework agreement without rates. A procuring agency may enter into a framework agreement without rates with one or more suppliers or contractors, following the procedure for pre-qualification. 2. The procuring agency desirous to use framework agreement shall record its reasons to use this method and make it a part of the procurement record. Before going to next step, please proceed with quiz first. Thank you.